My name's Nick Keynes. Lovely to be here. Thanks for having me. I've been in marketing and research for 30 years. I've worked at autoTRADER for about 9. I study people. I'm fascinated by psychology, by technology, and by how the world has changed. Now, you're all experts. You do this for a living. And how dare anyone come up on stage and tell you that you're doing it wrong? That's not what we're saying here at all. Hopefully, all you might get from today, from the insights we have, is just some ideas that might make you think, yeah, actually, things have changed. So I've been in marketing for 30 years, but I was also in my 20s in a rock band, and I have a ward of Marshalls here, and they've blown my ears away, and I'm now stone deaf. This ear doesn't work at all, and this ear has permanent tinnitus. And I only say that because when we get to questions later, if you ask a question and I look blankly at you, I'm not being rude. You have my full permission to shout and throw things at me, but not now, in the questions, hopefully. So the world has changed. I'm going to hopefully agree with a lot of the things you've heard today already. It's changed very quickly. In the last 20 years, globally, we've gone from just 1% of the world online to almost 46% of the world now is online. Now we know that. We're all online. This is in just 20 years. And in that same time period, we've gone from less than 1% of the world with a mobile phone to almost 3/4 of the world now has a mobile phone. We've all got mobile phones, 40% of which are smartphones. And smartphones have evolved. They've gone from and here's one ringing for us, perfect timing. Thank you, I'll pay you later. So they've grown from the big brick in your pocket, which was large, didn't really work, but was impressive. They got smaller and more powerful. They've ended up as a smartphone, which is actually a PC. There are some genius scientists who use smartphones to power satellites. They're that powerful. In 1946, the first computer was built. It was called an ENIAC. It could do an amazing 380 calculations a second. And it was the size of half of this room, made out of steel. It was massive. Today's Snapdragon chip, which you'll find in an iPhone 6, will do 28 billion calculations a second. To get the same processing power out of that ENIAC, you'd need 70 million of them, and they would fill an area the size of Greater Toronto 20 times. And yet, a Snapdragon chip will sit on my fingernail. That is 70 years of technology and evolution which we and your consumers and customers have all lived through and continue to live through. And as we live through that, our behavior changes. We get bored quickly. We want things to be instant. We won't queue. We won't hang around anymore. We won't wait for a hotel. We'll use Airbnb. In the UK, we have Uber. I imagine you have a similar service here where you can get a taxi when you want it. We don't wait anymore. We get too impatient. You could argue the 3 biggest fears of today's generation are not war, pestilence, and famine, but, need a Wi-Fi signal, oh my God, it's buffering, and I'm going to run out of battery power. These are the things which actually really do affect us now, driven by your future audience, the millennials, those aged under 30, who are living through this now. They expect things to be quick, immediate, instant today. Just to back up what we've heard this morning, so I've worked in media and research for years and years. I used to work for a big media planning agency. I was research director there. And in 2006, we were looking at how the growth of all media was changing. And we thought the internet is going to be so pervasive, actually all advertising will crumble. As we've already heard this morning, the internet is a driving force, but there's still a lot of other media vying for our attention. This is global advertising sales from PricewaterhouseCoopers, a huge analyst company in the UK. They've looked at all advertising actually has grown over the last few years. There's more internet advertising, outdoor, cinema, radio and TV. There's more of it going, vying for your customers' attention. Even newspapers and magazines, which we're all told are actually beginning to go off a cliff a bit, there's still a lot of them around. So what this means is you have to stand out. You have to grab me because I'm being drowned as a consumer in information, in ideas, in branding, in whatever you're trying to sell me. So you could argue it's goodbye the 4 Ps, which we all learnt in marketing school years and years ago, in business school. Product, place, price, and promotion. The traditional 4 Ps of marketing, actually today, you could argue it's the 4 Cs. Create, curate, connect, and culture. Because mobile and social aren't emerging, they're already merging together. Even relationships are becoming more digital. 1 in 5 couples meet online, allegedly. 1 in 5 divorces involve social media, allegedly. And we are addicted to our phones. If I phoned Ian 10 years ago, I would have phoned his desk phone, his desktop. I wouldn't have phoned a mobile because we've all had landlines then. Saying, hello, where are you? It's completely commonplace now. We do, as Ian does, as Kevin does, a lot of research. Best way to find out how people interact. And we use established large companies to help us do this. And we do statistically significant samples. So we are accurate in forecasting how car buyers are buying. And I think, I've spent a lot of time in the States as well, I don't think there's a huge difference between the Canadian audience, the American audience, and the UK audience. We are similar human beings. There might be some nuances, but actually, the stats you'll hear from me today, you can, I'm sure, apply some of them to here. So, one of the questions we asked was, this was car buyers. What are you using when you're doing your research? So after 6 o'clock, they're using desktops, tablets, smartphones, and Kindles, as we all are. If you get home now, and you're having your dinner or your tea, you've got your feet up watching telly, I will not watch telly without holding an iPad and a phone. My wife's the same, iPad and a phone. We've got Wi-Fi, we're all interlinked. But during the day, what interested me the most was 53% said, I'm using my smartphone to access the internet. So we are addicted. Most of us have one within reach 100% of the time. Hands up, who's got a smartphone on them now? Yes, well, there we are, yes, right, good. 44% of us sleep with it beside your bed. Who sleeps with it beside your bed? Wow, yes, right. 80% of us, who checks it within 50 minutes of waking up? Isn't it awful? So I'm worse than all of you. I have my smartphone. It's actually on the table. It's normally on my pocket. I feel a bit naked without it. It's my alarm clock. I really am deaf. It wakes me up. I go to the bathroom to have a shower. I'm turning on the hot water and the cold water, and I sit down to have a wee, because I'm old, but I can check my text better. Sorry, take that image out of your head. My wife thinks I'm mad, but we are addicted to our phones. I really am deaf. I really am deaf. I'm lucky enough to live in a big old house with big, heavy walls. And our household is lots of, hey, what, pardon? Shouting goes on. That's our household, because my wife's a bit hard of hearing too. So, one Sunday, I'm watching the F1. I like F1. My wife doesn't. Sat down, Sunday, watching the F1. Lynn's upstairs, just above me in the bedroom. I fancy a cup of tea. I think, I won't shout, I'll text her. Fancy a cup of tea, sweetheart? And brilliantly, because I knew she'd have her phone with her, she goes, ping, yes please, lovely. Isn't that mad? No, actually, that's the way it's evolved. Instant gratification. And if the site you go to is inadequate, you're going to lose me. 91% of a survey, not by us, but a recent survey said they will turn to a rival brand if your mobile site is inadequate. What do we mean by inadequate? It is too slow to load, too difficult to enter information. I'm bored, make it quick. So, is your site optimized? Is a question to ask you. I don't know. I would hope it is. I travel a lot. I was in Cork in Ireland, Southern Ireland in December, similar session. I did a hands up in the room. Hands up, who's got an optimized for mobile site? 20% of the room put their hands up. That's in December 2015. It's amazing. An optimized means fits the screen, easy to use, it's not going to slow me up, I'm not going to get bored. Critical when Google launched this last year. In the UK, I'm sure it's applicable here too. If you go onto a phone, mobile, and you search on Google for a site, and it isn't optimized, you'll be penalized and pushed down the search rankings. They see how important it is. Who are we to argue? So, the world has changed. We've got a lot more digital. It's instant. We want gratification straight away. In the UK, and I hear tales from here too, and in the US, forecourt visits are down because we're doing all that research online. You don't need to trawl around the forecourts every day looking for some researching. You can do it online now. In the UK, they're down 41% over the last 3 years. That's quite a big jump. And we're still selling the same number, or registering the same number of vehicles. It's actually 7.1 million vehicles were sold last year in the UK. Surprising how tiny the place is. So what are car buyers doing? What turns them on, what turns them off? Key insights. I hope, and I think you'll take some stuff that's relevant to Canada here too. Buyers often don't know what they want and are open to influence. 58% of people said, I will consider multiple marks. Now, I'm a petrol head, and I wrongly assume, and it's always wrong to assume, that everyone is too. But actually, most people aren't, and buying a car or vehicle is quite a scary thing. I thought, he's always bought Beamers, always bought Mercs, always bought VWs, always bought Fords. Actually, no. 58% said, no, I'll consider multiple. No. 46% said they didn't know what car they wanted to buy, and 29% were open to new or used. So what this means is there's a window of opportunity for you to influence me. Grab it. Those aged 65 plus were more brand loyal. Well, that's not a surprise because we get more conservative perhaps as we get older. But a third of 17 to 24-year-olds, the millennials, your future audience, didn't know the make or model they wanted to buy. So you can influence them. And 1 in 2 of them were undecided on new or used cars. So you can influence them through marketing, online, how you approach them. 2 out of 3 had no idea which retailer they planned to buy from. And I use the word retailer strongly because actually we've all been car dealers, but actually the world has changed so much. You are now a retailer. We live in the world of omni-channel, of bricks and clicks, of click and connect. I will click online and I will pick it up. In fact, as we've alluded to this morning already, all the research happens online. I will just turn up. So what I'm going to show you in a sec is actually we're not winning at that game. We're not making it a seamless journey. It's actually it's hard. So don't assume I know who you are. What sources am I going to use? Well, surprise, surprise, we use the internet to do our research, but dealership visits still take a big part. What's the most influential part? Well, it's going online, but also dealership visits still play a big part. And as we heard this morning, other media isn't that effective. Younger buyers and women actually tend to need more reassurance. And please don't take offense, any girls and ladies, women out there. This is not stereotypical. This is just, if you're not a petrol head, if you're not sure what you're buying, reassure me. How are you going to reassure me? You're going to reassure me with probably the most powerful advertiser you can ever have, which is a testimonial. Someone has bought one of your vehicles, and they've told me about it. It's the most powerful advertising in the world. Someone saying, you want to buy this is brilliant. If I was a dealer today, and I had a site, I would have a ticker tape running along the top with testimonials, ratings or reviews of successful things people have said about the car I've just sold. It's the first thing you'd see. Like us, car buyers search when we're shut. Busiest time of day on autoTRADER in the UK is in the evening, 9 o'clock at night. I've spoken to many, many media owners. I obviously don't know your stats yourselves, but if you look at your Google Analytics, I bet it tells you get a peak in the evening because that's when we're all at home doing our research because we can do it. Doesn't mean I want you to get back to me immediately. It does mean, though, if I contact you in the evening, if I actually bother to contact you, and you don't get back to me for 24 hours, funnily enough, because there's so much choice out there, I'm going to go and buy somewhere else. So speed of response is still critical. And I will expect to see transparency. It's a frightening phrase. As dealers, I don't want to give transparency away. Transparency, I'm a dealer. I want to hide behind my pricing guides so that when someone comes in, they don't know what the car's worth. I'm going to do a better deal. But actually, transparency is prevalent now in everything, in all marketplaces. In the UK, we have a site called Zoopla. You can go on Zoopla and you can see what your neighbour's house sold for, what it actually sold for. You never used to know this. This was secret stuff. You never used to know what it was private. It's now out in the open. If you want to buy insurance or warranty, you go on an aggregator site and it will tell you and list all the different insurance and warranties you could buy, how much they cost and what you get for each one. Doesn't mean you buy the cheapest. It means you've got information, insight, so it can help you. Transparency isn't just about price, although in the US, dealers have been transparent for the last 11 years. And according to NADA, revenues are up. They're not down, because transparency is about trust. If it's transparent, it's going to make me think, I'm going to spend my money with you, because as a buyer, I have a choice. I'll expect to see ratings. We've already heard about it, but I will expect to see reviews. When did you last go on holiday without going on TripAdvisor? When did you last buy something from Amazon without seeing what other people said about it? We expect this. We live in this world. There is no single silver bullet to win in digital retailing today. British cycling, you're probably completely unaware of it, but it's bizarrely, British cycling has come from 0 to world class. We keep winning things like the Tour de France, which is a big race that happens in France. And traditionally, we never used to win it. And Dave Brailsford, who is the manager of the team, it's called Sky Team, was asked, he said, what's the secret? What's the one thing you've done? What have you done? Why? How are we winning now? And he said, no, there is no one thing. It's marginal gains. Each cyclist has 40 or 50 managers who look after them. And they all concentrate on one thing. How much hair to shave off the legs? What kind of rubber to put on the tyres? What kind of chain oil to use? They make tiny incremental small differences, and the sum of these brings the whole team up. Multiple things to do. So ratings, reviews, it's just one of those things. And you're doing it. I found this last week. Here we are. Brilliant. North York. Big up for North York. If there's anyone from North York in the room today, brilliant. Here we are. I want to see reviews. And I don't just want to see 5-star, because that makes it look like you're working out who should I show and who shouldn't I show. Be truthful. Be open. Be honest. We asked people in a survey what improvements could you do for a dealer? And 3 of the top 5 were about transparency. Better information on the real cost of cars, clearer information on car prices, better information on the best car deals. Transparency does appear when car consumers are asked, how can we improve? How many devices do they use? 55% use 1 during the car purchase, 29% use 2, 60% use 3 or more. And the insight from this is, give me consistency. If I'm on a laptop, and I go to a tablet, and I go to a phone, do I see the same brand across each product? And then, when I go to your forecourt, is it the same brand? I can tell you that I was presenting to a large conference in Yorkshire, North of England. It's one of the largest groups in England. I'm not going to tell you the name because we're being filmed, but it's not ethical. Large group. They've got £1 billion turnover, so big group, lots of franchises. And before I came on stage, the CEO said, before Nick comes on stage, I want to show you this slide. They've got about 60 dealerships. So this picture is our Bradford forecourt. He said, what's wrong with it? He said, it's the wrong city. It's actually Nottingham, not Bradford. It's not the same place. It's not the right place. So when you, as a car buyer, have gone on a laptop, tablet, phone, done all your research, thought, brilliant, I'm going to turn up. You turn up and go, it doesn't bloody look like anything. Where am I? It's wrong. So an easy fix. But you'd think today, this was November 2015, we wouldn't be getting these things wrong. But successful companies are. There's tweaks and tweaks you can make to improve. Because I will visit more websites during my research, as we've already heard, than actual physical forecourts. On average, on this bit of research, it was 4.6 digital sites I visited and only 2.3 physical sites. It can be as low as 1. You do all your research online and you just turn up. Why am I visiting your website? To find out about the car, obviously, but actually looking to build trust in you and validate why I should spend my money with you. Because I've got choice now, I could go anywhere. Why should I spend my money with you? We hear now people are, as you've already heard, just turning up. 58% of people, statistically significant sample of car buyers, have said, I'm not going to bother phoning anymore. We used to measure the success of our advertising on how many leads it generated. How many phone calls did you get from your classified advertising? How many, and then eventually, how many emails did you get? But if 58% of people are not going to bother phoning or emailing, they're just going to turn up. Is that a valid metric? 67% of 17 to 24-year-olds, your future car buyers, will just turn up. In the States, we hear 70 to 90% will just turn up. Why? Because they've seen the ad view, the full-page ad, the vehicle detail page from your search results. This is your shop window. So it's critical that it has fantastic pictures, high quality, multiple pictures, good description, a good attention grabber. The pricing's got to be on the button. You've got to show me that I should trust you, get me your ratings, your reviews. This actually is your shop window. There is a serious correlation between those car sellers and dealers that are getting more ad views or vehicle detail pages per car and the speed with which those cars sell and how often they sell. Don't take offense, I found this last week. This is one of your cars, one of your vehicles for sale, and it's not a blurry picture, but that's actually what it looks like. This isn't the thing out of focus. Does that sell that lovely looking Ford to its best capacity? No, because it's a bit blurry. This is the inside of it. It genuinely looks like this. If this is your forecourt, if I turned up on your forecourt and all your cars physically were blurry, funnily enough, you're going to walk away, aren't you? So, but this is your forecourt. So, why did I visit multiple dealerships if I did? Because most of us now are only going to visit one. Well, 1 in 5 visited because they had poor service. God, we spent ages getting our digital site right, but actually when I turn up on the forecourt, it's awful. How can you make this, how can we win here? Why did I buy from you? Well, I bought from you because you had the right car on the spec, as you'd expect. I was 75%, 76% I was treated well, as you'd expect, and hoped for, and 74% said I bought from you because the car was good value for money. A brilliant phrase to hear for something as expensive as a vehicle. So we as an industry are doing a lot of the right things. Good. We asked people to describe what was it like buying. What words would you use to describe the buying process? And there were lots of positives. They said things like, it was interesting, enjoyable, exciting, smooth, easy, fun and quick. Brilliant. But they also said some negatives. The buying process was time-consuming, stressful, daunting, exhausting, frustrating, overwhelming, confusing and boring. Small percentage points, but still not good words to hear in our industry when something as important as buying a vehicle. I've got an alarm at home. I'm sure many of you all have alarms on your houses. And I get serviced once a year. The service bloke comes up. So he parks in my drive, parks up, and I go to open the door, and I notice he's got a brand new VW Caddy van. It's like a small VW Golf-sized van. And I'm really nosy. I ask everybody all the time, what do you drive? What's it like? Do you enjoy it? Etc. Because I'm nosy. I'm a researcher. He doesn't know what I do for a living. I said, oh, mate, come in. Oh, got a new car. I said, yeah, actually, I bought 2 of them for the company. Oh, yeah, great. Yeah, and what was it like buying it? And he said, it was purgatory. I said, what? Purgatory? Oh, that's a bit of a big... He said, oh, it was awful. I was there for 4.5 hours. I had to sign my name 19 times. Oh, I knew what I wanted. I just came and said, look, can I buy this car? Because they went, no, sit down. Do you want a cup of tea? No, I don't want a coffee then. I don't want hot chocolate. Just sit down. Can I buy the car, please? No, we have to go through. Now, there's FCA regulations. As we all know, the finance is a bit of a minefield. But if you've done 10 to 14 hours research and you've turned up to say, hello, can I buy this car, please? And you still make me sit and go through this long, drawn-out process, can we learn something? Can we, I don't have the answers for you, but as our future generation who are impatient become our audience, will they stand for this? Is the message to think about. That in the US, there's a dealer called Schumpf BMW, and they advertise, if you come in and you find one of our vehicles, you can drive away in an hour. Brilliant. I don't know how they've done it, but that's certainly on the right lines. Ugly slide, but it just makes a similar point. We scored people on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is low, 10 is high. So anyone scoring 8, 9, 10, brilliant, 1 to 5, poor. Who had the best experience buying a car and who had the worst? Those who had the best experience were those who spent over 20,000, were new car buyers, bought frequently, and were aged 50 plus. But those who had the worst experience were those who bought less frequently. In the UK, we change cars more frequently than you do over here, but that's over 5 years is quite slow for the UK, but they bought privately, bought cheaply, and sadly were the millennials, our future audience, had a worse experience than our older audience. Ugly slide, but it tells a similar story. The further up you are on this graph, the better. This is 50-year-olds, 35 to 49s, and 17 to 35 for the millennials. For all of these metrics, younger buyers got a worse experience than older buyers. For the test drive, visiting the dealer, them answering questions, explaining finance, the environment to browse, talking to sales staff. So our opportunity for us is how do we bring them up? One dealer, a Volvo dealer, said to me when I presented this to them, in fact, it was the MD of Volvo UK, said to me, yeah, but younger buyers are more demanding. And so, yes, that's their prerogative. If they're more demanding, that doesn't mean we can't help them. We've got to try and work out how we can make it easier, simpler, quicker. Similar metrics, if you bought a new car, you got a better experience than people who bought a used car. And if you bought from a franchise dealer, you got a better experience than those who bought from an independent. So the opportunity for the independents is, wow, make it more special. I've yet to meet anyone who's bought a used car who isn't as excited about it as someone who's bought a new car. I just got a new car. What, brand new? Well, it's a year old, but it's new to me. And I know from speaking, I've spoken to over 4,000 dealers in the UK personally, because I've been doing these kind of sessions over the last 4 or 5 years. The conversion from used to new, you know it yourself. You'll upsell someone when you get them in. Opportunity. What was the worst experience? The worst part of buying was haggling over the price, agreeing delivery, the dealer trying to persuade me to choose a different car, or negotiating with the dealer while they tried to sell you numerous add-ons, or pushy salesmen. No surprise. In the UK, car dealers are ranked just above bankers in people we love to hate. It's probably not dissimilar here, is it, sadly? But we're not like that. I know none of you are like that, but that's the perception. There is a perception we're not as nice as we really are. What was the best part? Looking at the car in the showroom, picking the car up, looking at it and test driving it. Looking at it and test driving it, when I first drove it, felt like it was the one. Those are the best parts. So there is a perception. The red line is perception of what we're as an industry are like, and the blue line is actual reality. 43% of people thought a salesperson was going to pressurize me, whereas in reality, only 21% were pressurized. 33% thought negotiating was going to be unpleasant, whereas in reality, only, and I use inverted commas, 17% found it unpleasant. Insight from this is, what's the opportunity for us to win here? If we can bring this line, blue line, down, if you know that you are not going to pressurize me, negotiating will not be unpleasant, it will be an efficient service, the salespeople will show me respect, they will understand my needs, they will have knowledge of the cars, and it will be an inviting showroom. If you have this in your dealerships now, tell me about it. Because the perception is that you haven't, and that's sad. The perception also is that getting a test drive is going to be harder than it is. Almost 1 in 5 thought getting a test drive would be difficult. Surely getting the test drive is going to be the easiest thing. The way to sell the car. Get me in the car and you're going to win. Because if it's easier, I'll buy more often. 27% said I will buy cars more often if the process was easier, like my alarm bloke. 57% said I'd buy from the same retailer if the process was easier. 49% said I'd buy the same brand if the process would be easier. So to think of, can we make this process easier? Because footfall is declining. In the UK, 2010, 30 million footfalls on our forecourts, and we were selling 7 million cars were registered. By 2014, that had halved to 15 million footfalls, and we still registered 7.1 million cars. It probably won't get as low as 7 million, and we're still going to sell 7 million registered cars. That's 1 in 1. But the trend is down. So don't keep me waiting long, is the phrase. Get me in that car quickly. If you can get me in, if you can make the process as seamless as it is online, you're going to win today. And the smart dealers today are using data as insight. Sounds like a horrible phrase, but we have things like club cards. I know you don't have Tesco's here, but they are cars that you're given to help you spend more money. And the retailer uses it because it's data. It tells you what someone's bought so they can stock what you're buying. Every time you go back to the store, oh, surprise, surprise, they've got the things I normally like to buy. Brilliant. And you get coupons. It keeps you in the loop. What it also makes them able to do is price well. This car is a record breaker. It's not a good record breaker. It's been on autoTRADER the longest. Can anyone guess how many days this ad has been live for? Have a shout out in days. How many think? 400. 600. Yeah, okay, 4. That would be so for over 4. So over a year. Actually, it's been live for 6.8 years. Quite a long time. Would you keep a car on your forecourt physically for 6.8 years? And what it says here is recently reduced great value diesel. When did they last change the price? 3 years ago. Not recently reduced, not great value. Clearly. So, as a duty of care, we phone this poor sod of a dealer and say, tell us about your car, you know, God, you've been advertising for so long. And he said, well, I took it as a part exchange. It owes me £1,000, and there's a buyer for every car. It's a phrase I'm sure you use here too, but it's a phrase, it's a buyer for every car. I've used it myself. We said, right, okay, what's your normal stock turn? How quickly do you churn your stock? Oh, about 60 days. Oh, right, yeah, 60 days, right. And you've had this for 2,500. Yeah, right, yeah. It owes me £1,000 though. Okay, right. Is space not an issue? Do you live on an airfield or something? He said, no, I've got space for 20 cars and they're stacked up wing mirror to wing mirror. I said, right, okay. So your stock turns 60 days. If you took the space, the physical space on your forecourt that that car had occupied, you could have sold 42 vehicles. If you make £500 minimum margin per car, $750,000 per car margin, by keeping this car for 2.5 years, for 6.8 years, it's cost you £30,000 in profit. And you've been paying to advertise it, so it's actually cost you £32,000 in profit. Right, but it owes me £1,000. No, it doesn't owe you £1,000, it owes you 34 grand. He says, oh, yeah, so it's extreme. But to succeed today as a digital retailer, think shifting your forecourt, moving it, make the most of your inventory. So in summary, omni-channel world we live in, click and collect, bricks and clicks, this is our world now. As a consumer, I will expect to be able to see everything online and then turn up and buy it. It's only going to get faster, and our younger audience expect that too. I'm always open for influence, 24/7, as we all are. We're all addicted to our phones. They're in our pocket the whole time. I want to see consistency across devices, and I want to see a seamless on and offline experience. It's got to look the same, your online as your offline, because this is you, this is your brand now. I'm probably not going to phone anymore or email. I don't need to, because I've seen your ad view, your vehicle detail page, everything's there. So the ad view is the measure. If you're getting more ad views, more vehicle detail pages, you should be shifting more stock. And I would expect transparency, because transparency is about trust, not just in pricing, but also in ratings, reviews, testimonials. But the perception is worse than reality. Show me why I can trust you. Because I don't trust you at the moment, sadly, but I should be able to. Because this is the world we live in. These people are at a live event, and they're all on a digital device, apart from my mum. Thanks very much.